A very good morning. Thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook. It is Friday, the 3rd of December, and we've got a strengthening jet stream across the Northern Hemisphere at the moment. We've had a very strong jet stream, particularly across the North Pacific. Big contrast in temperature between parts of Siberia, where we've seen temperatures down as low as minus 55 in recent days, and we've got some fairly milder further south. So that's been increasing the jet strength both across northeastern Asia, across the Pacific, and also in the North America. We've been talking about record warmth, temperatures as high as 22 Celsius in parts of British Columbia, which is just crazy for early December. And of course, when you've got a record breaking warmth to the south, bitterly cold Arctic air across northwestern Canada and into Alaska, you're creating a very strong jet stream in between that. Record breaking rainfall as well has been a problem. But as we see this jet stream, kind of a very zonal type jet as well, by the way, crossing the western portion of North America and across the continent, what we're going to start to see is we're going to see the jet strengthen over the North Atlantic as well. Up until now, it's been a fairly undulating jet, big dips, big lifts north into the Atlantic up towards Greenland and Iceland. And of course, we've seen this fluctuation in temperature across the British Isles and Western Europe as well. Generally cold across Europe, but we've seen this back and forth, leaning perhaps towards the colder side of the mild and warm type setup that we've got at the moment. But it looks as if we are going to start to see that jet stream strengthen significantly, possibly accelerating to 200 plus mile per hour into the upcoming work week. And with the dip in the jet, the collapse in pressure to the southwest of the British Isles, that is going to be a region to watch for deepening areas of low pressure. And we do have some very deep areas of low pressure on the charts for later next week. So we'll need to keep an eye on that. But you can see here, this is North America. This is Asia, by the way. This is North America, North Pacific, North Atlantic, the UK at the very edge of the chart. Now notice here that we've got a very powerful jet stream exiting Asia. We've got this dip over the North Pacific. Then we've got, of course, this rise. And it's right underneath this jet here in particular that we're seeing some extreme weather, heavy rainfall, damaging winds, record warmth. We're seeing very cold weather, of course, across to the north of that. And of course, that is what's powering that jet stream in between. Now, up until now, what you can see is we've got an area of low pressure exiting Canada. We've got high pressure over Greenland. We've got this ridge over the North Atlantic. And of course, with that downstream, we've got the trough, colder air, the jet stream generally crossing the southern portion of the British Isles here. So we're in the cold air, but what is going to happen is going to create that flip, the flick in the jet, the skipping rope over the North Atlantic. We're going to continue to see these, flex and the flex in north and south of the jet across the North Atlantic here. So we're going to continue to see these kind of surges of mild coming in. We've got that at the moment. Then we're going to see the jet coming south again, introducing colder air briefly, and we've got this back and forth between warm and cold. But I think as we press through next week in particular, we're going to start to flatten out. And if you notice here, this is for Monday, in fact, of next week. You notice here that we've kind of lost the ridge over the North Atlantic, and therefore we've got more of a zonal jet. Notice the position of the jet, however, it's reasonably far south. It's not way north, so we're not necessarily bathed in warm Atlantic air. It's going to be still open to question. We're going to still be on that kind of borderline between warm and cold. But it's interesting to see how the jet kind of flattens out. Then if you notice here, this is towards Tuesday of next week. This is what I'm talking about. The jet kind of takes that little bit of a northward track. We've got the dip to the southwest of the British Isles, and when you've got that, that is when air tends to bundle, and we'll start to see areas of low pressure deepen to the southwest of the British Isles here. And we do have a pretty beefy looking area of low pressure on the charts for later next week here. As you can see here, it crosses the British Isles, and it could be quite problematic. Now, what is going to be something that you need to consider is higher pressure over Europe, and that means that it's not going to be a kind of straight west to east track whipping across the UK with damaging winds and heavy rain or snow or whatever. It's going to actually start to slow down. The models are indicating that the high pressure over Europe starts to kind of slow down that eastward progression. So there is a lot of things open to question. Like I said in the video previous, talking about the December forecast and how I think it's going to be quite an extreme month, I do think that we are going to be talking about some extreme weather in terms of storminess, but also the possibility of some pretty wild back and forth swings in temperature, and quite a complex chart. There's no doubt about that. So this is the overview here of the GFS. This is tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. You can see here that that ridge of high pressure over the North Atlantic, low pressure over the kind of North Sea borderline Norwegian Sea, and we've got, of course, a cold northwesterly airflow here. So we kind of lose the cold today. We had a very chilly day yesterday, of course. Temperatures not much above freezing. Milder, slightly milder today, especially across southern portions of the UK where we've got double digits. And then, of course, we've got colder weather coming back in for the course of tomorrow. And it looks as if that will kind of continue itself. We may hold on to some night frosts during the second half of the weekend, as we've got a little bit of reprieve, if you will, in terms of wind during Sunday night and into Monday here. But then we've got the next system coming in off the Atlantic here during the course of early Monday. Then notice here we've got this feature here. That is the one to watch. It's underneath a very powerful jet stream, or in fact it's actually riding a powerful jet stream. But you've got very cold air coming off Greenland. You've got reasonably mild air down across the Azores, and of course you've got that clash here. That all the ingredients coming together perfectly for low pressure deepening. And as it crosses the Atlantic here in a fairly southerly position, notice here how the pressure deepens and the area of low pressure becomes a lot more compact, tightly, and of course containing some very intense winds. Now, the model is indicating at the moment a fairly deep low. It actually had 930s in millibars a couple of days ago. It's now kind of slightly less deep than that, and it's tracking further south. So a lot of uncertainty in terms of exactly where this system is going to come in. It may come in across the southern half of the UK. It may come in slightly further north. At the moment, it's keeping the jet stream further south. But notice here that as it starts to make an approach on southern portions of Ireland and Britain, 958 millibars, so that is a very, very strong area of low pressure that would be quite problematic. Notice here the bulk of it is across the southern half of the UK. Northern flank may be bringing in some colder air off the continent, so of course we need to watch out for snow scenarios here. But notice here that it kind of almost stalls to the south off the southwest coast of the UK because of the area of high pressure over Europe here. So certainly something to keep an eye on here, and very cold across Europe at this moment in time as well. So a very dynamic setup here, and it's something worth keeping an eye on here. So there's no point really looking much beyond this, in fact, because there is so much uncertainty. Then that system goes, according to the latest model, of course, down into France here. We've got another feature coming in off the Atlantic as well to follow that during the second half of next week here. But notice that there's purples on that chart as well, indicating snow prospects here. Like I said, there is cold air in place, and even though the jet stream is starting to liven up, we're going to see stormier conditions. There is also this constant battle between warm and cold. Now, the NAO is and the AO is expected to firmly go into positive here. If you notice here at the very top of the chart, there quite a strong positive Arctic oscillation. The NAO as well is indicating to go positive, but we may also see a bit of a dip, if you notice here, in the NAO. Now, what is interesting, folks, is as we go forward, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, a big player quite often overlooked in the tropics. It's going in through phases 6 at the moment, and then expected to go into phase 7, which is the increase in convection over the Western Pacific. And that, in turn downstream, indicates an increased possibility of blocking high pressure towards the middle and second half of December. So while we're in this kind of border at the moment, this kind of fight over the next week or so, there is still reason to be optimistic here that as we, and I'm not backtracking, by the way, this has always been the idea of something colder possible towards the second half of December here. If you haven't already, go on to marfoganweather.com and please watch the December forecast here. A lot going on, so keep it right here on my YouTube channel on marfoganweather.com. Please, of course, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep up to date with the very latest. Hope you have a great Friday, and be back in the next couple of days with more.